right, happy Earth Day, everybody. So this is my first Facebook Live event, and hopefully it goes okay. So I just wanted to make the purpose of this Facebook Live, hopefully a weekly event, but kick off today with Earth Day. And my goal is to travel to different wildlife areas in Mitchell County and kind of talk about what's available in those areas. And these are places that, with all of our restrictions and everything right now, are perfectly safe to go as long as we're following some common sense rules. You know, not traveling with anybody or meeting anybody that isn't within your household, bringing any kind of hand sanitizer, staying 6 feet apart or more from people if they're already here. And so this is one of our many wildlife areas that offers lots of different recreational opportunities. And so I wanted to show it off a little bit because it's kind of out in the corner of Mitchell County and not a lot of traffic. So this is Nelson's Paradise, and I'm going to flip my camera so you can see on the map approximately where we are. So I have my Mitchell County conservation map here, and we are up here in the northwest corner of Mitchell County, and this is Nelson's Paradise. So it is on a gravel road, and it's bordered by Otter Creek. And then the Cedar River is very close by here. It also connects to the recently acquired Huffman Wildlife Area, as well as Otranto Park, which is all along the Cedar River. And with so much water, we have kind of a wet area, as you can see. There is, if you can hear, some Canadian geese honking over on the other side of the trail. It's kind of a levee, almost holding back a man-made pond where there's a lot of duck and goose nesting happening right now. And once you get off of that little raised trail area, it's a little bit more bottomland woodland, and the creek is right over there. We'll take a walk over there in just a second. So this is an area that has great potential for just wildlife watching, if you'd like. So there's tons of bird activity, especially right now with migration and spring breeding happening. So lots of unique birds. I know recently I have witnessed a Wilson snipe in this area, which was a new bird for me, as well as lots of American woodcock painting, and they have a really interesting mating display. If you've ever read A Sand County Almanac by Aldo Leopold, he talks about their interesting dance, their spring dance that the males perform for the females. So that's kind of a fun bird as well. Lots of wood ducks here because of the bottomland woodland here along the river and the creek. So hollow trees for nesting cavities and water for the ducklings to spread out onto once they're ready to come out of the nest box. And just as I was walking in today, I spooked a turkey, and it is turkey season. So if you noticed or jumped down right at the beginning, I have an orange hat on. So if there would have been any turkey hunters in the area, at least they could have seen me. Orange, blaze orange, that deer hunting people wear, as well as pheasant hunting for safety, is a great color to have if you're going to be out walking around. So I just have my blaze orange hat today, and I had not seen any turkey hunting activity this morning, but it was fun to see a turkey. I'm waiting for my tags to be able to go out myself, which is fun. And I also had a little muskrat come up in the pond and say hello, so he wasn't too bothered by me, which was kind of neat as well. So again, we're at Nelson's Paradise this morning. There it is on the map. So it's just north of St. Ansgar, and there's a lot of great wildlife areas up along the river here. So wildlife watching, hiking, hunting, geocaching, and just being outside is kind of some of the nice things in this area. I know a lot of people right now are getting interested in looking for spring wildflowers, and there are a few starting to pop, at least this part of the county. And we'll take a walk here in just a minute to show off some of those. And there's also been a recent curiosity in some foraging activity. So things, plants, mushrooms that you can collect and eat from the wild. I do a lot of classes on this, and I might be featuring a few of those very common, easy to identify plants and mushrooms as we progress into spring. But in Mitchell County areas, it is legal to harvest mushrooms, berries, things like that, and some plant material as long as it's done sustainably. So things like stinging nettles would be a good one. We don't have a lot of garlic mustard, which is a good thing because it's an invasive, but if you were to find that, that's one that you can completely collect. Dandelions as well. So those are just a few that are starting to come up, and if you guys have any questions, let me know. So I have a few questions already. No morels yet. Our ground temperature is just a little bit cool, although today should help because it's just gorgeous out today. So not quite, but they're coming. I actually recommend following the Iowa Morel Report. So they always have an updated map at least a couple times a week of where the morels have been documented, and they actually have to have, location and photo so they can officially say, yes, this morel was found here at this time. So that's a good place to check if you're wanting to watch the Morel Report. And a couple other things around the area. I had someone say, yes, we've got some great fishing here. You can fish Otter Creek as well as the Cedar River just down the creek. So Otter Creek dumps into the Cedar just right north of Otranto Campground. So the campground is still closed for safety reasons, but these wildlife areas are a great place to get out and about, to get outside and enjoy this beautiful day. So we've had some sunshine recently, but today we actually have some heat, which is great. So I know that there are reports of trout being caught in Otter Creek. The DNR does not stock Otter Creek, but it can occasionally have a trout in it. It's a fairly shallow creek. It's great for kayaking. So if you wanted to plop into Otter Creek just up the road here from Nelson's and paddle through Nelson's Paradise and then plop out onto the Cedar River. There's also the Cedar River access at the state line, just north of here, about a mile, and that's a good put-in spot for canoeing and kayaking as well. So I'm going to walk down over to the creek here. I'm going to fold up my map. And a good thing, no matter when you decide to go out, before visiting any of these areas, if you need a map, you can always Facebook message us or email us, and we can send one of these maps to you. And I'm also going to try to get it posted on our Facebook page, as well as there are maps accessible on mycountyparks.com for some of these different areas. But make sure you tell somebody where you're going and when you plan to be back. Also, grab a water bottle, always a good thing to have with you. And sometimes it's nice to have like a little first aid kit, even if you're just going for a walk. You never know, might trip or something and get a scrape. So we're gonna walk over to the creek here and see what's happening, and then we'll travel up back toward the pond and check out a few flowers along the way. I also brought with me a pack of goodies with different books and things I recommend for any area that has a pond or wet. So some good kids books and discovery books to kind of see what's out here. I also have it's a roadside wildflower guide, so it's kind of a general guide. It's not specific to habitat. But if you're interested in checking out that, it's a pamphlet about the same size as our Mitchell County Conservation pamphlet, and we can send that to you as well. So I'm working on putting together some access to some printouts and websites and apps that are free, either from us or from other providers that might aid you in your wildlife identification skills. So just before we get up for a walk here, one of my favorites as I'm sitting here listening is the Cornell Lab of Ornithology's app, which is called Merlin ID, and it's a free app, and that's a bird application. It helps you identify birds by sight, so you can type in a selection of different characteristics, size, color, what it was doing, behavior, that kind of thing, and narrow it down that way if you don't know the name of the bird. If you don't know the name of the bird, it has a site or a section on it that talks about the bird and its general behavior and life history, and it also gives you the calls, which is my favorite way to identify birds. So we're going to take a little walk over here to Otter Creek and see what's going on. There are quite a few deer trails in and out of here as well. So somebody was already walking recently this morning through the mud. All right. Not a very deep creek, but usually fairly clear. Some nice rock sandbars and things. I know on several sections of Otter Creek there are springs that filter in, so the water is usually pretty cold. Again, it's not stocked for trout, but it can support a few trout, as well as lots of small fish species, which is always a good thing. I do find some mussel shells in Otter Creek once in a while too. With it being a little more shallow, it has great sound, so it's nice to just come sit and relax along a babbling brook, in this case Otter Creek. So one of the unique things about Nelson's is because it's so wet, just to the east here and to the north, it kind of opens up into more of a open wetland area instead of a lot of these trees, which is more like the riparian creekside, riverside woodland. And there are some rare plant species that help keep this place pretty special, and also keep the plants protected by being in the conservation program. And there have been people from all over the state that have come up and taken pictures of these rare plants and endangered plants. And that was a pretty fun experience because it was a lot of new plants to me. And so I do have with me today my woodland and wetland wildflower identification, although as you can see there's not a lot popping up just yet. I do see some foliage, some leaves of some things that are coming, but we'll just kind of take a wander back up toward more of the trail area. It's just a small trail, a short trail around the pond, but we'll go see what's happening up over there. So when I first came in, the turkey was walking right through there. I just heard some branches break, but I'm not seeing anybody right at the moment. No deer or turkey. All right. So just standing here, I'm noticing a few things. So this, it's not quite ready yet, it's trying. This is just the bare beginnings of a bluebell. And so those are the flowers, buds, starting to pop. They have almost kind of a purpley tint to the leaves, and they're very smooth, no teeth on the edges, and very smooth texture to the leaf as well. But those are the tiny, tiny little bluebell flowers that are going to be peeking out here any day now. And one of my favorite wild edibles, yes, you can eat them. Here are some stinging nettles. Very characteristic, jagged, sharp teeth on the edge. And if I am to turn it over, there are some little, tiny little hairs. Those are the stingers. But stay posted, and I might talk about how to identify some of these edibles a little bit more and how I use them. So I'm going to grab my pack and show you some of the things I brought with me today, and then we'll go check in on the pond and see what's going on over there. So some of the stuff I brought with me today are some of my favorite books to go along with ponds and wet habitats. So we have Near One Cattail, Turtles, Logs, and Leaping Frogs. We have Wonders of Swamps and Marshes. Around the Pond, Who's Been Here. It's kind of a discovery book where you get clues about certain animals and then have to try to figure out who's been there. And I also brought with me a few guides. So like I said, I brought my one of my favorite set of guides. And these are by Sylvan Runkle. And so there are wildflowers of Iowa woodlands, prairies, and wetlands. So since we're in a wet area, I thought this one might be most beneficial. I did bring a bird guide, and I have copies of these at the office if anybody is looking for one to borrow. But like I said, the free app, if you have a smartphone, really is fun because you get the sounds with it too. And that's, again, through the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. As well as a simple tree book. Not a lot of leaves to go on right now as far as tree identification, but soon. And in any of our areas, if you're looking for tree identification, I will be posting this simple guide to help take you through different tree identification. And me being me, I don't go anywhere without my collection basket, and there's another bag in there made from a t-shirt and some gloves for harvesting those stinging nettles. So those are just a few things I brought with me in my pack today. And while I've been talking, over here in this wet spot, there has been somebody calling. Sounds very much like running your teeth up a comb, so prrr, prrr. And that is our spring chorus frog. So that little guy, it's about an inch and a half long, has 3 stripes down his back, and they're one of our first frogs to start calling in the spring. And there are several around the area I can hear in the background, but really, really fun to hear those frogs. I have heard them when there's still snow on the ground. We get those weird spring snows. Hopefully we're done with those. Oh, there he is. And the males are the ones that do the calling. So most of the time when I talk to the kids at school, they always think it's the girls that do the singing. And in the frogs' case, it's the boys. It's the males. So I'm just packing up my my books here into my bag, and we'll go for a little walk along the levee. I'm going to set my phone down for just a second. Okay. So I'm going to head up to the trail here. I'm going to try to find the driest path there. And along the way are some of the first wetland spring flowers that are just starting to pop up over here. So these little clumps of flowers here, you can see one there, over there. They love these kind of drainage, wet seep areas. And when they're fully open, here's the flower. This is marsh marigold, sometimes called cowslip. And they have a beautiful little yellow flower. It's really nice to see something so happy and bright in the wetland areas in the spring. And I have seen these guys bloom into November. So they have a crazy long bloom time. They kind of take a break once the weather gets warm, but once it cools back down again, they will send out a few last flowers. I don't know if that's typical, but in this area, I've seen it happen almost every year. So, marsh marigold. All right, let's go see what's happening over in the pond. There's another tubey flower just starting that loves these wet areas. It's another one of those plants that benefits from the protection of conservation, being included in a wildlife area like this. And it's actually fairly rare across the state, but in Mitchell County it's pretty common. So this plant here, it's got a beautiful purpley red stem here. And the leaves almost look like they've got little white tips to them, and compound leaves, so that means there's lots of little pieces of leaf on one main leaf. So this is a plant, I can get a little closer here. This is called purple-stemmed angelica, and it gets really pretty tall. I would say 6-7 feet tall eventually. And the flower is kind of a green poof, kind of a light lime green poof, circle ball. All right. You can see some of the evidence of a spring burn that was done out here. So where it's been burnt is nice and green compared to the dead stuff over here. All right, we'll go see if my muskrat friend is still active. Oh, no, but there's a coot swimming. So here's the man-made pond here at Nelson's. And there's just a small trail along the edge of the pond. Hoping the wind isn't too bad that you guys can still hear the frogs. With waterfowl in the spring and the fall with migrations going on. Tons of geese, ducks. I heard sandhill cranes out here. I believe that was on either Friday or Saturday. So they were working their way through. And I did see along the trail here my very first dandelion. Not a very impressive one, but the first dandelion I've seen this year. But the dandelions are good food for the bees in the spring. And then when I first got here as well, I found evidence of somebody's meal, I think. So we'll take a look and see if we can't figure out maybe who or what was here, kind of like our book. So I found a few bones on the trail. Not very big. Almost looks like shoulder blade bones, or scapula. And this looks like part of a pelvis, so a hip bone area. Bones are about 4 inches long. So could have been a groundhog, could have been a raccoon, something like that. There's no skull. Skulls are a great thing to help you identify what the animal was. But somebody had a meal. We're gonna walk down a little ways here and check on the geese. There are at least 2 nesting right now, and they have a very interesting posture when they know somebody's looking at them on their nest. So if anybody has any wildlife questions about things they've seen, I've had a few people message me or video call me saying, what is this thing my kids and I found? I love those kind of questions. So if you have any, feel free to ask them here, or you can message me after. I'm not sure what it was, but something just plopped off this log here. Could have been a turtle or a frog. tiny turtles. That must have been who it was. We'll wait a second and see if they come back up so I can zoom in for you. These small little ponds are great for exploring with kids because they're not very deep and they're usually packed full of wildlife. Frogs, turtles, tadpoles, salamanders, all sorts of birds, snails. A great way to get in and explore some of the diversity of our wetlands. Typically not a lot of fish. I know there are a few fish in here just because of flooding, but it was never stocked for fish. I see a turtle sitting on the bank over there, a little bit bigger one. These guys that just popped in off this log were only about 2-3 inches across. Oh, I don't know if my camera's gonna be good enough. I'm just on my phone, so. I saw another little shell pop up. We'll see if it comes any closer. I think it was probably a painted turtle, but I just got a quick glimpse of him, so I'm not quite sure. So if you guys like this Facebook Live format, oh, there he is. Okay. Just popped his head up in between the branches. Let me know, because I'm trying to figure out ways to reach everybody and still be accessible, even though I don't get to come into the schools and the nursing homes and have public programs right now. Just to keep everybody safe, but I want to be here for you guys. If you have nature questions or you're trying to teach a subject with your kids at home, let me know. I'm happy to provide anything I can for you. I have been making a few videos for some of my teachers based on subjects that we would have been talking about at school, so just let me know. I'd love to hear if you guys have any Earth Day plans or things that you've been doing for Earth Day or thinking about for Earth Day. Or if you need some ideas on how to celebrate. They're actually celebrating 50 years of Earth Day today, which is great. I'm not seeing my little turtle friends come back up here. Go down the trail a bit. My husband and I just watched the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie the other day, so it was kind of fun to see the turtles. Hopefully there's no toxic sludge around to turn them into anything crazy. So there was just a turtle hanging out right over here, but I think me moving scared it. We'll go down and check on the geese. There's some more marsh marigolds hanging out down there. More of those chorus frogs. So there's some of the Canada geese, loving those little islands in the middle of the pond. And there is actually a nest structure out in the middle of the water, and there are a few hidden on some of these other land areas here. And that's for geese or for ducks. Oh, there's a couple of blue-winged teals flying in. Very cool. Jackie, we are in Nelson's Paradise this morning. Just kind of seeing what's going on. Lots of frog and bird activity so far. Got to report that someone's out planting today for Earth Day. Oh, there's some turtles. All right, let's see if I can zoom in enough for you guys to see them. I know it's probably not the clearest. There's some turtles hanging out. And there's a tiny little sparrow that just flew up here. I'm not very good at my sparrow ID, so I'll have to get onto my app, my Cornell app, and try to figure it out. I see hiding back in these little wet areas. I'm not sure. I know you can probably see the goose there, but there's a bunch of little heads swimming around. I think those are some more of those coots. And out on the water there are those teal that just came in. They were the blue-winged teal. I saw the nice kind of soft periwinkle blue. Oh, there you go. Flying off. Some more. But I was just saying I'll have to get onto my Cornell Merlin app to try to identify this small little sparrow that I see. I know it's not a house sparrow. My guess is a song sparrow. I've heard some of those this morning calling. There, it's singing for us. Let's see if it'll do it again. Yes, we are also very glad that spring is not canceled. Nature is not canceled. That sunshine and fresh air is great for anybody. Not sure if you can see him. Blends in very well. But there's that sparrow in this shrub here, and he just called out for us. Oh, and it looks like a female might have just landed at the bottom here. So while we're taking a second to be a little bit quieter, I'm also hearing some woodpeckers. There he goes. Just landed in the trail. I've also heard northern leopard frogs calling, not so much today, but I have heard them on this pond this spring already, and they sound, along with the comb, that brrr of the chorus frogs, the northern leopard frogs sound like a snore and kind of like a pig grunt. So they kind of snore and then they go kind of like a pig grunting or rooting. I also heard lots of red-winged blackbirds calling. I saw a few turkey vultures flying over, which for me always is a sure sign of spring. Not the robins, not even the frogs so much. But once I see the turkey vultures, I know that spring is here finally. So I'm going to walk down a little bit further to the little island there where there are at least two female geese that are sitting on some nests. So we'll go wander that way and check them out. Before we get there, so one of the small trees that like to grow in this area is this one here. And I had some students at the elementary school, I think it was 2 years ago, tell me that it looked like a pretzel tree because of this brown with the white speckles, like the salt on a pretzel, which I thought was a great description for the bark, the young bark of this tree. Try to zoom in a little bit there for you. But one of the most characteristic for me is this fungus here. So I'm not sure. There we go. It's very dark. It's called black knot. There's some right here as well on this branch. And it's a fungus that affects members of the, it's actually the rose family, but for the trees, it's cherries, plums, things in that family, crab apples. It doesn't hurt the tree, but it kind of looks unsightly. So that's a good way to know if you have some wild plums or cherries, is if you have that black knot fungus. Some more remnants of a meal here. My guess would be goose egg that was snatched by somebody, a fox, or potentially a raccoon, and brought out here for supper. So there's actually two geese on this little island here. I think I'll move around to the other side of this tree to get a good look at the one at the top there. There's a few others just cruising the pond on this beautiful day. I don't blame them. But I'll go so we can get a good look at how they posture themselves if they are feeling threatened. There we go. Okay, so this female, see how she's got her neck out long and low? She's ready to get after me if I were to come over there and look at her nest. Which of course I will not, but she doesn't know that. They'll often hiss, flap their wings, and chase you off. So she's ready to protect her nest. And there is another female nesting just over here. We can't really see her from this angle. Yes, Jill. Sorry, it's not for more mushrooms or things like that, but we get to take a little walk this morning. I was just gonna see if there was any frog or fish activity happening at the edge of the pond here. There's quite a few goose feathers from nest building built up. There's a killdeer calling. I've also seen some insect activity. They were flying by too fast for me to catch a glimpse of whoever it was. But it's good to know that some of our insects, our pollinators especially, are starting to wake up and get active for the spring. So I'm just going to kind of finish up our chat today with this last little loop around the back side of the pond. Listening for any new birds we haven't talked about yet today. Chickadee just went flying. I heard some branches just snap back here in the woods, but could have been a deer or a turkey. Not really seeing anybody. I think we'll finish up with a little bit of a chat about Earth Day and a few things that we can do. Number one, go outside today. If you get a chance, anytime, before work, after work, lunch break, even if it's just a walk around the block from your whatever office you might be at today. It's just beautiful. I think I'm gonna go right over here by this tree and sit down for a second. I did bring with me a book for a lot of our parents. I think I just scared somebody in the grass. A lot of our parents that are working hard trying to do some lessons and teaching at home. And since it is Earth Day, of course I cannot recommend reading the Lorax more on a day like today. It's a perfect chance, if you've never read it, to read it with your children or with your family. But I brought with me a book that is, I think it's called How to Save the Earth, 50 Ways to Save the Earth Before You're 12. So it's not big things, but lots of little things that we can all do to help take care of our Earth. And I hope everybody's been taking care of themselves. I know it's challenging times right now, but like I said earlier, nature is not canceled. Spring is not canceled. And Mitchell County wildlife areas are perfect places to go out and be a safe distance from other people. And there might not even be other people around, but to go with your family. You can take your pets. Just make sure they're on a 6-foot leash. Can take them for a walk. My dogs this morning were very upset that they were not going to get to come with me for an adventure this morning. But maybe they'll join on another Wednesday. So, it is 101 ways you can help save the planet before you're 12. So, of course, we'd have to take current safety precautions into thought with doing some of these projects. But it's just really easy things that anybody can do at home. And I have in our latest newsletter, which I will make sure is available on Facebook and mycountyparks.com, on different ways to stay green, to stay healthy during current times, and some great ideas for celebrating Earth Day. So hosting a habitat, even if you only have room for a flower pot on your steps or on your balcony in an apartment, you can still provide beneficial habitat and flowers and food for our pollinators. A lot of people are trying out their hand at gardening this year, so you could plant some garden food for yourself and family. With limited access to cleaning supplies of certain sorts, some people are discovering ways to use products that you already have in your house for cleaning: vinegar, baking soda, those types of things. So learning how to make some of your own green cleaning products. Just keep in mind that mixing some products cannot be very good. So bleach is one of those things that can't be mixed with a lot of other things. Let's see. I had another good idea. If you have scrap wood around, a good project for kids to do at home is to build a birdhouse or a bat house or a nesting platform for certain species. I will also post some plans that are like one board plans that you can do with your kids at home. So you don't need a lot of building materials, a scrap piece of something you might have laying around that you can turn into a nesting box. Also, maybe take some time to learn how to do some food preservation. I think I'm going to start doing a series on sustainability and self-resilience and reliance. So canning, making homemade goods like homemade soap or products that I'm going to have available, hopefully, when we can all get back together again and have programs. But I am going to be posting a few things on our Facebook page to help people that are wanting to learn how to do some of these do-it-yourself projects. But learning how to can, especially something simple like a jam or a jelly, is a great way to talk about math. You have to measure, and science with the pressure, how that works to actually seal the jar. So don't forget that science and environmental education and biology works with all different subjects. You could also start a compost bin. For those of you that are learning to garden or have been gardening and getting outside and enjoying planting some potatoes and radishes and some of those spring crops, know the benefit of homegrown compost. Especially with a lot of us cooking at home, there's a lot more food scraps around too. So that was just kind of a fun book with a few ideas. I'll post a few of those as well. So I think we have just about 5 minutes left. So if anybody has any questions or things you want to learn about this wildlife area or just nature questions in general, I'll probably just kind of leave us to enjoy the sounds right now for the last 5 minutes. So, but I'm always available. You can call my phone. I am trying to work from home as much as possible, just doing my part to stay safe and keep others around me safe, my coworkers. And so my cell phone, if you ever need to reach me, is 641-330-0765. My email is Chelsea, CHELSEA, osage.net. And you can reach me on Facebook Messenger, through our work page, through Mitchell County Conservation, or just post questions there on our page in general. And I'm hoping to do a Wednesday wander and a wonder every Wednesday for a while. And they may or may not be an hour long like this one, but I thought since it's Earth Day today, it'd be a good way to kick it off and see if you guys like it, and just see what Mitchell County has to offer for wildlife areas and things to do. A couple other things I didn't mention, in most of our wildlife areas and like access for the river, there is also geocaching opportunities. So if you haven't tried geocaching, that is a great way to get outside with your family, or a great solo activity. So again, make sure we're practicing safe distancing from others, not meeting up in big groups. But if you and your family want to learn how to geocache, again, there's a free app. It's just geocaching.com. And you can also do a paid version, but the free app, it works just fine for anything that I've ever done. And you can go out and discover some of these new areas, and it's like a grown-up virtual treasure hunt if you've never done it before. So if you have a smartphone, you can do that. If you don't have a smartphone, there are a few other ways to access that information. You can get online and get the coordinates and do some mapping with a compass. But geocaching would be a great, safe, social distancing activity out in our wildlife areas to try out. Also, if you have never kayaked, a lot of our areas are along kayakable or navigable creeks, and then of course the river. So we have quite a few access points along the Cedar River to get in and check out the scenery along the river too. So with our last 2 minutes, I'm here to answer any questions, and we'll just kind of enjoy some of the sounds of Nelson's Paradise here. Hope everybody has a great Earth Day. Let me know, even after the video, let me know what you guys are up to for Earth Day, or if you have any good ideas or things you want to share. And don't forget, if you are out and about enjoying our areas, to check out our Facebook event. It's the photo scavenger hunt, and so we have a lot of different ideas on things to take pictures of, and you'll be eligible for prizes if you turn in selfies or pictures of some of the stuff that you've done. So that's on our Facebook page under the events. And if you do need a map of our different conservation areas, wildlife areas, our most up-to-date version we will have available. We can mail one to you, and I'll also scan it in and have it available on mycountyparks.com and our Facebook page. So I'm going to flip it back around to just enjoy some final views of Nelson's Paradise. All right, well, thanks everybody that tuned in this morning and asked questions or said hi. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to get on my phone microphone, but back here, it'd be to the west end of Nelson's. I'm guessing they're out in the field, which is behind here. I hear some sandhill cranes, so really fun springtime bird. But happy Earth Day, everybody. And don't forget to get in contact with me through Mitchell County Conservation Facebook page or through mycountyparks.com. And I'm here to help you out with any nature questions. And hopefully, if you guys like this, we'll see you next Wednesday at a new wildlife area. So happy Earth Day, everybody. Get outside and enjoy it. It's just gorgeous. Thanks a lot.